What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Saturday morning coffee stream. I am very happy to be here. Well, kind of happy to be here only because I wish I could have gotten this done last night. If you watched last night's stream, it's the previous stream, obviously. I was planning to do a really cool, very, thorough, not very thorough, sort of thorough, but I really want to start this Schizo Iceberg. It's technically called the High Strangeness Iceberg, and we'll give credit to the person who actually put this all together. This is not my creation, but this is the stuff that I really like. High strangeness, the occult, esoteric, all this kind of like weird stuff. This reality is extremely interesting, and I like to explore those interesting, weird layers to the onion, even if they're not real. And some of these things are going to be, hoaxes, frauds, whatever. But we're going to go through it, and I think I have it figured out today, so where we can actually go through and discuss the first part of the high strangeness, aka the Schizo Iceberg. We'll be breaking it up into a couple different shows, just because there is so much material on there, and I don't want it to be overwhelming going through it. I do want to be able to spend however much time I feel or deem to be necessary on certain topics that require a little bit more time. Some things we're just gonna fly through just because I'm not interested in it or it's not that important. But regardless, very excited for you guys to join me on this journey through the Schizo Iceberg. Now, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream last night as well. Played some pretty awesome chess. I didn't think it was going to pop up this morning because I looked at my phone and it wasn't there, but it is there, so I'm glad that stream still exists. It's not the greatest stream in terms of me talking or being entertaining, but there's some good chess on there for someone who's completely mediocre. And I almost became a full-on chess player or chess streamer. Almost made the decision, but woke up today, decided, like I told you last night, if you watched the stream, that I'm going to be back this morning for the first ever Saturday morning coffee stream to go over the planned material. So, with that being said, let's hop into it. Whoa. You know what? I'll just hide myself for now. So, this is the High Strangeness Iceberg. I'll zoom out a bit. This is the full iceberg. So, like I said, we're just going to be doing part 1 today, which is this very top part here. I'm going to zoom in. This very first layer to the iceberg. And if you don't know what the iceberg meme or the iceberg thing is, it's essentially taking one topic or genre or niche set of topics and you go on, go deeper and deeper as you continue to explore the iceberg. So the idea is, the iceberg that you see, whatever you see above the ocean for an iceberg, is only about 10% of what actually exists, because there's this big giant iceberg that goes to the depths of the ocean, into the void. So all these topics here that we're talking about today, they're pretty insane. There's some good stuff in this first layer here. This is just the surface level before we get into the really, really schizo stuff that's all the way down in the depths. So, with that being said, there's also in case you want to keep up with anything here, there's, different colors that align with different aspects. So, as you can see, I'm wearing these blue light glasses because again, I'm schizo, so I think that, my computer's trying to rip my eyes from my head. So I don't know exactly what color that is. Creatures, it's like a reddish looking color. So that, that color aligns with things that are, in fact, creatures. And if I need to explain what a creature is, then we need to do a lot of background information. Hopefully we don't need to do that. So we have spectral entities and phenomena, UFO and aliens, people, phenomena and hotspots. That's very strange, spectral entities and phenomena. All right. Phenomena and hotspots, medical conditions, abilities, miscellaneous cases and incidents, books, miscellaneous theories and concepts, and research and evidence. So with that being said, we're going to follow a very simple pattern here for this stream to cover this, for you to stay along. You can, take a screenshot of this if you want. Well, we might come back to this in between. No, you know what, we will. Just so you can see what we've covered so far. So we're going to start with good old Sasquatch here, and then we're going to make our way to the right, just like we're reading a book, and then we're going to come back down, and we're going to come back across to the right, just like that. So, I don't think you can see my, yep, there it is. Yes, we're going to start with Sasquatch, make our way to the right, just like a book. Now, to real quick, just give this guy credit he deserves. This is the, let me load this thing up again. This is the guy who created the tier list, so if you want to give him a shout out, or, I don't know what the fuck you do with Reddit, give him, cake or something, I don't know. I'm not a big Reddit guy, but if you want to support him, go ahead and support him. I don't know. I'm giving him credit, that's all that matters. So, with that being said, I'm going to come back to life, and we're going to hop in. Give me here. We're going to hop into this Iceberg, and thankfully we're just getting our little toes wet today. Ooh. So first one, Sasquatch, aka Bigfoot. Pretty sure everyone here has heard of Sasquatch / Bigfoot. Very easy one to ease in here. Obviously the legends of Bigfoot go back beyond recorded history and cover the world in North America, and particularly the Northwest. Again, big giant ape creature that lives in the woods. Now, what's interesting to me about Bigfoot and Sasquatch is how much variance there is in terms of what people think Sasquatch is. So there's a whole group of people who think that Sasquatch, Bigfoot, is a legit, just giant species of ape that, hasn't been identified or discovered yet. And they're completely normal, like, they're the same. There's essentially a big gorilla that lives in, like Oregon or Pennsylvania, and they're so smart and so elusive, and we just can't figure out a way to prove that they exist on any physical level. Which they're nomadic or whatever excuses or whatever they claim. But the core argument is that Sasquatch is, in fact, a flesh and blood creature. Now, there's a whole other subset, or a whole other side of the argument that states that Bigfoot is actually more of like a metaphysical, spiritual. There's more to it than this is just a flesh and blood creature. There's something more to this. There's a great book where the footprint ends. It's a part 1 and 2 by. Just want to load this up. By Timothy Renner and Joshua Cutchin. It's absolutely fantastic. Very, very interesting. Look into the more spiritual aspect of Bigfoot and what Bigfoot actually might be. Find that on Amazon as well. Afar seems to be hiding something much more complex than the undiscovered gorilla. Bigfoot may be howling for the lonely mountaintop, but the Bigfoot phenomena is whispering secrets if we will only listen. Eyewitnesses, investigators, and cryptozoologists worldwide contend ample evidence exists supporting the survival of a large, hairy, ape-like creature alongside mankind today, lurking in the wilderness. By all appearances, these beings seem wholly natural, interacting with their surroundings, leaving behind hair, blood droppings, and of course footprints. Yet despite their apparent physical nature, Bigfoot and its hairy hominid kin consistently appear mired in high strangeness, the peculiar, ineffable, and nonsensical absurdities so often encountered in paranormal phenomena. Some sightings seem more consistent with mythology than Bigfoot. So some of these things we'll get into a little bit later as well, so I don't want to kind of cover it too in depth, just in case we end up being redundant at any point, but there's a lot of cases of vanishing Bigfoot. Bigfoot where all you can see is the legs walking. Bigfoot's crawling on, their legs like spiders with multiple legs, more than just two feet, 2 legs. It's very interesting. There's a lot of interesting cases. And another thing too, before we keep going, this is the first entry. But if there are any entries that you guys are really interested in and want me to make a full stream like dedicated to that, we can absolutely do that. All of these topics have enough information to spend an entire stream going over. So if there's anything that you're like, damn, that was awesome, let's go over that more. Yeah, for sure. Just let us know in the comments, and we'll make sure to plan that out. So back to here, so we've covered Sasquatch, and now we're on to UFOs. This one's going to be quick because, again, there's a lot more specific cases mentioned in this iceberg. So, UFOs, unidentified flying objects. It could be anything. It could be, human craft that we just don't know what the identity is. Obviously, this is very highly connected to, aliens. I'll have my opinions on aliens explained, throughout the course of this video. But, very simply, UFO, unidentified flying object, is an object or phenomenon seen in the sky but not yet identified or explained. The term was coined by United States Air Force investigations into flying saucers. Again, nothing too crazy. We're not going to spend too much time here. Obviously, in addition to UFOs, there's unidentified aerial phenomenon and unidentified anomalous phenomenon. Those are the same things. I thought they were going to talk about the water ones. UAP is the new term for it. All the same thing, but really not that interesting. Everyone knows what a UFO is. Well, it is interesting, but everyone knows what it is. Shadow people. What are shadow people? So, shadow people are described as human figures that appear in the dark, shadowy silhouettes, often described as blacker than black, totally devoid of light. What's interesting about shadow people, and that I can speak from my personal experience, is that they are very highly connected to sleep paralysis states. And sleep paralysis is very interesting because even that is debated about, is that some kind of a demonic state that you're stuck in, or is it just like a hypnagogic state where your mind is a little bit more conscious and your body just hasn't fully woken up yet? You're kind of in this in-between transitional state. I don't really know for sure what my opinion is. I think it's definitely a little bit of both, and that's going to be my, it's kind of a cop-out, but I think a lot of things, there's a little bit of both, instead of being, specifically one thing or the other. But these shadow people tend to really know. Hope the stream didn't disconnect there. I just got a notification that OBS disconnected, but the reconnection is successful. So if I did come out, we're just talking about shadow people still. I didn't get too much, further on. But yes, shadow people are, these dark entities, darker than blackness. It's very, very creepy overall. There's a specific shadow person called Hat Man that is seen by a ton of different people. So I'm not sure if this will be further than the iceberg. I probably should have looked, but I think Hat Man's crazy because I'm going to show you another story in a second of how widespread Hat Man is. So Hat Man is a mysterious figure often described as a shadowy entity wearing a wide-brimmed hat, a trench coat-like jacket. He is commonly associated with sleep paralysis, like I said, a phenomenon where the person is temporarily unable to move or speak while falling asleep or waking up. Description of the Hat Man may vary slightly across cultures, but he is typically depicted as a tall, featureless silhouette that stands silently in the corner of a room watching the individual without making physical contact. Now, what's also interesting is that a lot of people report feeling just these intense feelings of just dread when they see the Hat Man, or just when they're in sleep paralysis at all. And a big theory behind these shadow people is that they kind of feed on that negative emotion, that negative feeling, that dread. That's what they sustain themselves on. So they find you in these transverse, kind of times, and soak up your loosh, soak up your energy. But yes, shadow people, Hat Man. Now, don't know if anyone here is a big sports fan, but I don't know how to spell Aaron Rodgers. That is awful. I'm sorry that you guys have to see my spelling. But Aaron Rodgers, professional quarterback in the NFL, has talked about seeing the Hat Man. He went to an ayahuasca trip in Peru. Ayahuasca, for those who don't know, is like this root that contains DMT, which DMT is the strongest psychoactive component that exists that we know of overall. And he went and did this shamanic ayahuasca trip, which I recommend you don't do unless you're very ready for it. It's very intense. I've never done it. I'm probably never going to do it, but went to this ayahuasca trip, and now he starts seeing Hat Man. Hat Man, which he claims appeared to him during his ayahuasca trip in Peru. Rodgers described the entity as a shadowy figure veiled by darkness, sometimes holding the corpse of a dead rabbit or a blade. I did not know that. That is horrific. This account was shared in various media outlets, including the satirical news site, which has since been noted for its fictional content. Rodgers' experiences with the Hat Man has sparked discussions among fans and the public, with some attributing his sightings to the effects of ayahuasca. Yeah, that's the problem. Ayahuasca can one-shot you, and I very much believe in the spirit world, and if you're opening up, you might be opening up portals that you can't close, and that other things can come through. So be careful with shadow people and ayahuasca. So on to the next one. We have Mothman, one of my favorite kind of high strangeness things ever is Mr. Mothman. Whoa, too quick. Is Mothman. So again, we don't have too much time to dive into this topic, but Mothman is a cryptid that was spotted during this intense flap throughout West Virginia and Point Pleasant during the what the years here? Let's say here. Doesn't look like it says the years. I think it said 1960 something. Sorry, I should have. It was there here. According to the conspiracy theories, it was here on November 15th, 1966 that Mothman emerged from either the depths of hell or the upper echelons of space. Yeah, so I guess it was in the 1960s at some point, where this winged cryptid that looks like a moth started to kind of terrorize this town of Point Pleasant. And there's all this crazy high strangeness that would happen in connection to it. One of the most interesting story threads is, let's see if it's even mentioned in here. Do not see it. But John Keel, who's one of the most famous high strangeness reporters and writers of all time, went to Point Pleasant, was actually there to kind of investigate this flap when it was happening. And he kind of writes this gaucho journalism, book about this whole thing, where he's, becomes a character in the story. There's, these men in black figures that come to investigate that become characters. There's all this craziness, but essentially this big flap ended with the collapse of a bridge. Right here, I believe this is the story of the bridge collapse. Sorry, I should have had more for Mothman here. Let's go to just the Wikipedia page just for a good old breakdown. Yeah, so started in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, November 15th, 1966 to December 15th, 1967. Concluded with the collapse of the bridge. Let me see if they have. Nope. Where is it? But tall, spooky, whatever. We'll do a whole stream on Mothman, the Mothman story, John Keel, and the Mothman prophecies and all that. So on to the next one, we have the Pale Crawlers. Again, nothing really spectacular about this. Just tall, lanky, gross looking. That's it. That's a Pale Crawler. Do they exist? I don't know. I'm pretty sure there was a story that, these Pale Crawler things were just kind of created. What's the other guy? There was some other cryptid that was like literally just a creation. Oh, Slender Man. Yeah, Slender Man and Pale Crawler are kind of like internet creations that might be closer to what's called a tulpa, essentially like a mental. So many people talk about and added their energy and thought energy to this being that was Slender Man and that was the Pale Crawler, that now they kind of exist. They just do exist. We kind of manifested them in a certain weird way because of all the attention and energy we gave these internet stories. I don't know if that's true for Pale Crawler. Definitely true for Slender Man. Slender Man was definitely just an internet creation, but I'm pretty sure Pale Crawlers are an internet creation as well. But they're these tall, gross, slimy bastards that crawl around in the woods and this Hanger One Publishing has Pale Crawler mythology you need to know about. So the pale moonlight filters through the trees as I wake. Let me get into my real reading here. The pale moonlight filters through the trees as I make my way down the narrow forest trail. Senses alert for any sign of movement. As a Bigfoot researcher, this guy rocks. I'm accustomed to spending lone nights. I'm accustomed to spending lone nights alone in the wilderness, but something about this particular evening sets my nerves on edge. A heavy silence hangs in the air, broken only by the occasional hoot of an owl. The owls are not what they seem, a rustle of underbrush. Then just ahead I catch a glimpse of something that makes my blood run cold. A gaunt, pale figure crouches beside a tree, its elongated limbs bent at an impossible angles. My flashlight beam illuminates its hairless flesh, so white it seems to glow in the darkness, and I stand paralyzed. The creature turns its head, revealing a lipless mouth, lined with tiny, razor-sharp teeth. Its eyes are like an endless black void staring deep into my soul. Alright, so that is... we're going to move on, but that is a Pale Crawler. Next, we have Men in Black. So this kind of connects to Mothman, and this one's kind of cool because I have some video for you too. But the Men in Black, essentially, it's not the movie with Will Smith, but it is the actual Men in Black. And the Men in Black are this group that might not be connected to the government, that essentially keeps wraps and is in charge of, just kind of like the movie, they keep all this high strangeness stuff under wraps, and they make sure that people don't go speaking too much about what they might have seen or what the reality is to all this. So popular culture, UFO conspiracy theories, Men in Black are government agents dressed in dark suits who question, interrogate, harass, and threaten unidentified flying object witnesses to keep them silent about what they have seen. Now, what's interesting is it's not just for UFOs. It's actually, again, for cryptids and for other things. For Bigfoot sightings, there's been a number of different cases where the Men in Black have shown up after someone has seen a Bigfoot or a cryptid. Mothman, again, is another good example where the Men in Black played such a huge role in that Mothman story, which is, again, that's why we're going to cover Mothman to our own stream, just because I love Mothman so much. I did such a bad job covering it here that I will redeem it in that full stream. So yeah, so the Men in Black shows up for a number of different kinds of situations and experiences. So they're not just relegated to UFOs. Now, there is a little bit of evidence, and I'm going to show you here.
To watch is that footage. No one's going to die, are they? No.
Of the supposed Men in Black.
Sovar reported that the witnesses...
So, I know it's just a quick little video, but apparently Men in Black, a big theory about them is that not only are they just agents who go out and harass individuals after they have seen some crazy shit, but they might actually be aliens themselves. The reports are that they don't have eyebrows. It looks like their skin is like rubber. They've got a ton of makeup. They don't they don't understand normal human basic rules and interaction and stuff. They're very odd beings. They just don't seem like they're normal human, normal humans. It's not like the Men in Black where you have Will Smith who's all charming and stuff. They're the complete opposite. So, as it says right here, They are typically described as tall men with expressionless faces, slightly pale skin, and usually wearing black suits with black sunglasses. So we listen to that and then go back to this video. Let me hide my thing here.
Gonna die, are they?
Yeah. See, these two guys matching that same description come walking on in. Now the person
Sovar reported that
hotel, where these people were filmed, the clerk or whoever was working the front desk, I believe, was like, yeah, these people are weird as hell. Like the man had no eyebrows or eyelashes. Hello. All right, we're gonna take a quick break from Men in Black. Ooh, let me load my thing back up. My wife is here. Say hi.
Hi.
There you go. Gotta get all the way in. You want to grab Molly too? Introduce Molly. Yes. That is my cat Molly as well. She's been here this whole time, but just bothering and nibbling at my feet. How you doing?
Good. How's your stream going?
It's going good. We're talking about Men in Black.
Oh, nice.
Well, for right now. And then we're going on to, let's see, what's our next topic? I think we kind of hit Men in Black well.
I remember listening to something with you, Men in Black.
I have definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely. Oh, Faye. Here's a good one for you. Get out of that. The Fae Folk. So the next entry on the Iceberg, the Fae Folk. So according to multiple different mythologies around the world, specifically like Irish, Celtic, there's some Norway stuff like Sweden, Norse, but Fae, it's another whole like world. So we think of them as fairies, but our view of fairies are very different to what their view of fairies was. They saw fairies as extremely dangerous and something to be very, very cautious of, and something not to upset. But they lived alongside, the regular people in that area. They're very much so just kind of like forest spirits. Some of the things they would do though is steal human children, replace them with their own children. Some really crazy stuff. They would also, if you walked into the forest, they would offer you food. If they ate that food, you would literally be stuck to fairy world forever. A lot of crazy stuff. But what's interesting is that people today still believe very much so in the fairy world, especially in Ireland. And even because we took a trip actually to Iceland last year, and same thing, they believe in like trolls and fairies and stuff very much so, to where they won't do construction in certain areas. Same thing in Ireland, where fairies and the fae folk are a very big deal. There's certain areas and there's certain like natural formations of rocks and trees that are widely known to be like, oh, that's like a fairy home or fairy garden, and you're not supposed to do construction in those areas because the fairies will fuck with it and they'll mess with it and they'll cause problems. So I also wanted to pull up this angry Irish fairies screw up human construction. So let's see. There have been problems ever since Irish officials developed road number 22. Drivers have experienced unnatural dips in the road every time it is repaired. The slopes returned. Is it merely a geological issue or something more? Construction workers destroyed many fairy forts to make way for road number 22. I don't know. That's a weird. What do you think that is? Like Route 22 or like Highway 22?
Interstate. I don't know.
Yeah, for like the U.S. equivalent. There are noted 60,000 fairy forts all over Ireland. They're also called raths, ring forts, or lyoses. Many of them date back to the Iron Age or older. Some say fairy forts are portals to the fairy world. Others believe these are places nothing more than tribal communities made by earlier civilizations. So they destroyed all these fairy forts, and then the road just keeps getting destroyed over and over again because the fairies are pissed and they're not cool with it. What's up, Molly?
Okay, I'm gonna let you continue on here.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a couple more, and then coffee stream will be over, and then we'll go get some breakfast. Bye. All right. So yes, so fairies. Again, not like, Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell is not the, the real concept of a fairy that people actually believe. The Fae folk. So, yeah, let's see if there's any more. Do we want to hit anything else with the Fae folk? Yeah, the nature of the Fae folk can't be divided into strict categories like good and bad. Some cultures have labeled them and defined them. In Scottish and Northern English folklore, the Celine court is the mostly good, benevolent fairies, while the Unceline court is made up of harmful fairies that tend to be malevolent towards humans, so that the Celine, humans more so than the Celine court. Fun fact, Celine means happy or lucky, and is a word from which silly is derived. Oh, it is a fun fact. So, yeah, what exactly are they? They're like, I tend to think of them as like forest spirits. But let's see what she says. Nah, I don't know. I don't care. But, cool story. Literally fairies just ruining construction. And there's stories like that all over the place. Alright, so let's see. We'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll end on the Patterson Gimli film. And then we'll continue all these on Monday. We'll eventually get through this. We'll do a really long stream and get through all of this. There's a lot. So, we'll do a couple more. So we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll do 8, 9, 10, 11. We'll do 11. 11's pretty solid and we're already at a half an hour. So, do a couple more here. Communion is the next one. So, Communion is a book. Communion, I can't fucking say that. Is a a true story. That is the full name of the book. Communion. This is gonna drive me insane. Communion, a true story. There's a book by author Whitley Strieber, and this is apparently the account of his UFO abduction, alien abduction. So let's see if it has a breakdown of the story. I'm not super familiar. Oh, this is an eBay. That's the book though. Pretty cool. Bunch of apparent connections to Twin Peaks. Again, not super familiar with the full story. Yeah, he doesn't call them aliens in the book. So Strieber, which is very interesting because a lot of people like to jump immediately to one or the other, like because the whole debate. Same thing with like Bigfoot. It's like one thing and the other thing. It's either that they are true aliens, extraterrestrials, or they're demons. Or I guess there's a third option with Keel, where they were called ultra-terrestrials. But what is Communion? Whitley Strieber. Let's see if we can get a little bit more. So, the story begins with Strieber's experience on December 26, 1985, when he was at a secluded cabin in upstate New York. He went to bed early after eating Christmas dinner leftovers, but 6 hours later he found himself suddenly awake and forever changed. Strieber's account includes his interactions with alien beings and his realization that he had been in contact with them his whole life, a legacy passed on from his father and one he will pass on to his son. The book was later made into a film directed by Philippe Mora and starring Christopher Walken as Strieber. Strieber's experiences have been the subject of much discussion and debate, which is the same thing with pretty much all what's it called? There's really not, they don't really say much about it. Alright, well, I guess I'm going to have to read Communion, a True Story, and we'll go through that as well, and we'll do a whole stream on Communion. Communion at one point. We're moving on. I just can't. Synchronicities. This one's one of my favorites. I love synchronicity. Again, I consider myself a schizo-synchro mystic, so this is in my ballpark. So, synchronicity has a ton of different definitions depending on who you ask and who you talk to. The term, I guess, was kind of coined by Carl Jung initially. So, the first, basic level foundational definition is meaningful coincidences. But there's a lot more to it than just meaningful coincidences. One of the definitions that I really love, and to me the true, like, synchromistic, maverick, I guess the word I'm thinking for, is Chris Knowles, who runs the Secret Sun blog. Definitely check out the Secret Sun, but something that I really like that he wrote about mysticism and synchronicity is that synchronicity is the coincidence of an internal reality, a thought, a dream, etc., with things happening in external reality. And it doesn't always have to be something that's, internal reality either, or even connected to you. It doesn't even have to be necessarily connected to you, but the centrality of time and timing often tends to get overlooked with sync work, as does the crucial interplay of internal and external realities. So it's these meaningful coincidences that happen. So say you're in a dream and you see, like, a very simple description of synchronicity. You're in a dream and you see this very exotic, very colorful bird, or you see this deer just staring right at you, or there's this specific symbolage that you wake up and then you're in real life and you see the same thing. You see that colorful bird, you see that the deer, you see whatever that symbol is. So it's just a meaningful coincidences. Let's see. Good samples of synchronicities. I don't know how to spell sync. I'm a terrible speller. So, and there's multiple layers to it. We're gonna go through for sure. I've already planned this out. A review of the Synchromistic Handbook, which was written by Christopher Knowles. We're definitely gonna go through and check that out. Tons of different examples. So, like, see repeating numbers like 4 or 11.11, or encountering patterns such as the number 777 can be considered synchronicities. One individual noticed a necklace with 777 while at a venue, which they felt the sign was from their late grandparent. Personal in dreams, women who dreamed of her mother's death a year before it occurred. That's kind of like precognitive, which there's also something to say that synchronicity and precognitive, they kind of overlap a big deal, and we're going to get to precognitive at some point, so we're not going to cover that too much. Carl Jung described the case where a patient had a dream about a golden scarab beetle, and at that exact moment, a real scarab beetle flew into his office. The event was seen as a meaningful coincidence that helped with the patient's therapeutic process. So it's just kind of small things like that, but it can also be huge things, which I, again, implore you, check out The Secret Sun and really kind of dive into some of the things that Chris Knowles has written about, because he's got some great, deep rabbit hole sinks that we might talk about in the future. In fact, I really want to discuss his Lucifer Technologies series that he's got, and the Sibylline adventure, Philip K. Dick. There's all this great stuff that he writes about, so please just check it out. It's too much for me to break down in this quick video here. What are we at? 38 minutes? Alright. Dancing Plague of 1518. The second to last one. Dancing Plague of 1518. We're going to rush through these last two because I'm trying to get breakfast. Dancing Plague of 1518, essentially a bunch of these people just caught dancing. And they couldn't dance until they died. So the outbreak began in July of 1518 when a woman known as Fra Truffa and her daughter Farine Emma Gotz began dancing fervently and uncontrollably in a street in Strasbourg. According to Ned Pennant Ray, what the hell is with these names? This is just AI. Fra Truffa had been dancing on July 14th on the narrow cobbled street outside her half-timbered home. As far as we could tell, she had no musical accompaniment but simply began to dance. Some of those who had witnessed her strange performance had begun to mimic her. Within days, more than 30 choromaniacs. What the hell is a choromaniac? Dancing mania, derived from the term choromania, Greek choros. Oh, that's pretty cool. Alright, back. Choromatics were in motion, oh my god, this is ridiculous. bunch of people just started dancing with no music. Other people began to also dance and follow. There were as many as 15 deaths per day. Oh, jeez. Oh, dancing plague had claimed more than 400 victims. So people just danced themselves to death, and just kind of a schizophrenic craziness. All right, last one, the Patterson Gimlin film. Very simply, holy, I totally no. Damn. That is, I apologize. I've been realized now that I've just been, my video is big, and I did not realize that for the last, wow. My apologies. My apologies. I thought I was screen sharing. I thought my screen was small there. Well, I hope you guys liked the sight of my face, because you guys didn't get much else for the last couple minutes. I'll make myself real tiny for you now to make up for it. If it is real or not. But that's the Patterson Gimlin film. Now, in tradition of the stream, it's time to play one game of chess before we go. Alright, let's see. Can you see? Yes, you can. Perfect. Alright. We played last night, so I hope you guys enjoyed the first part of this schizo thing. I'm going to try to get better. I know it wasn't perfect. Do a little bit more research. Ooh, I keep doing this. But I know it wasn't perfect. I should do some more research, obviously, beforehand. My goal is to do more research on the topics before discussing them, but again, like I said, I kind of got derailed from last night. I was ready to go. Could have taken that. I was ready to go, but then, the freaking streaming thing wouldn't allow me to. It wouldn't work with whatever the. Ooh, nice. It wouldn't let me stream the Google tabs, and I opened everything in Google Chrome instead of opening it in. So, damn, dude. That's booty cheeks. What do I do, chat? What do I do? I'll just take it there. Nice chat. This is epic destruction. Right here. I'm a 708, so I actually got. Oh no. No chat. That was no bueno. Damn chat, this is sad. Damn. That is brutal. We had such a good thing going, chat. That's right. I'm going to win this. Nice. Yeah, we're gonna win this chat. Hell yeah. Perfect. This is probably gonna be a draw. He's just gonna draw me. Yep. Damn it. Alright. One more. I should have won that. That was really, really silly. Let's see if we can walk away with a W before I leave you guys for breakfast. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I know it wasn't perfect, but we're gonna get there. I'm still learning, and that's why I wanted to do this Iceberg tier list. I feel like it's a good thing to like ease my way into a little bit here. Obviously, I'm not, I don't do a lot of speaking generally, so having a chance to have something kind of preset is nice. Definitely need to do a little bit more research, which I learned. That's a learning experience. But I feel like I can still add. I know a decent amount about some of this stuff, so I think it's not the absolute worst. Let's see, what does he do here? What does he do here? I can just come back right there, or I can. I'll just go right back there for now. Alright, I can take that. Let's get him out of the way. Sorry, chat. Gotta focus in here. A wild move. Just gonna take that. It's not very nice. I'm also not super worried about you taking the rook. Yeah, you can't do anything there. That's super destructive. So I can just retreat there, and that protects the second rank. Let's see. Yeah, it's fine. Second rank is protected. What the heck? Oh, okay.